Good evening, everyone. To begin tonight's transition ceremony, I will welcome to the stage Professor Gil Troy. Gil Troy is an American presidential historian, a professor of history at McGill University. He is an author of 9 books, including Why I Am a Zionist, and a columnist for the Daily Beast and the Jerusalem Post. Please welcome Gil Troy to deliver the keynote message.
Erev Tov. How lucky are we? How lucky are we to be in this moment? Shechianu v'kimanu v'gianu l'zman hazeh. How lucky are you to have been born, most of you, in the free, democratic country of Canada. It's a miracle in Jewish history. You've met our survivor heroes. You can imagine, or try to imagine, what it's like to live in a world without democracy, without freedom, where being Jewish, simply being born Jewish, is a crime, a capital crime, worthy of the death penalty. My friend, my teacher, my mentor, Erwin Kotler from Montreal, who grew up in the 1940s and went on to become a great human rights activist and Justice Minister of Canada, said that growing up in the 1940s, he learned from his parents that in Jewish history, there are things too horrible to imagine that nevertheless have occurred and were occurring at that moment. Again and again, we Jews have experienced the worst. But we're not a defeated nation. We are the Phoenix nation. I get knocked down and I rise up again. You're never going to keep me down. And why? And why? Because we have the one renewable source of energy that they can't steal from us. Hatikva, the hope. For thousands of years, we had to take a leap of faith. And we know how important it is to have that leap of faith. We know how many people in the modern world grow up with a God-sized hole in their heart, missing a sense of rootedness, missing a sense of commitment, missing a sense of humility. But what did Theodor Herzl and all the great Zionists give us? They gave us a leap of hope. A leap of hope means that tomorrow will be better than today. But we don't just wait for it to happen. We roll up our sleeves and we make it happen. And that's the story that you're just witnessing, that you're living in Jewish history, going from the failure, the torture, the horrors of the Holocaust, inconceivable yet possible. And then our people rose up again and created this modern miracle, proving again that that which is inconceivable, which couldn't imagine, could be possible. And we've made this miracle. We've made this miracle, and of course we have challenges. We've made this miracle, and of course we know the country is divided right now. But I don't know about you, where you were last night, or where you were this morning. But when that siren went off, the headlines emphasized the few places where people fought. But I felt the power of the nation. I felt the power of unity. I felt the power of Zionists to understand that the most powerful force in the world is us together when we're united. And when we go in this amazing Tekes Ma'avar, in this ceremony of transition from the pain of Yom Hazikaron, more than 24,000 people, mostly your age, dying because they had something to live for. They had something to stand for. And they understood that the army, this Israeli army, this holy Israeli army, is the most powerful force that stands between us and another Shoah, us and another Holocaust. And they didn't care when they were defending, whether you were left-wing or right-wing, whether you wore a kippah or didn't, whether you were Sephardi or Ashkenazi, whether you were Jewish or not Jewish. They understood that their job was to defend us all. And today, our soldier heroes are defending democracy. They're defending Canada, they're defending the United States, they're defending the West against terrorism, against evil, not just defending our borders. And so the first thing I want to say to you today is congratulations, congratulations for witnessing this move, this shift from horrors to miracles. But I have one more message if you have a little bit of patience. It's a more personal message. You're going to go home in a few days, and people are going to ask, how was the trip? That's what my mother always asks me, how was the trip? And you're going to give a good answer, yes, good, bad. You're not going to really know until 2 years from now, 4 years from now, 6 years from now. And I want to give you your homework because I'm a professor, so I have to give some homework. I want you to really think about what this trip means. I want you to really think about what meeting and befriending and learning from the survivor heroes means. It means each and every one of you have become a witness. It means each and every one of you will tell your kids and grandkids and your friends in university and your neighbors what really happened back then and the truth about what's really happening in Israel now. But that's less important to me. More important to me is the soul work you need to do. When I travel around the world, when I go to schools, Jewish day schools, synagogues, and I speak to young people in universities, I say, what question do you get asked most often? And the question usually is, what are you majoring in? Where are you going to college? What are you going to be when you grow up? Which really means, what are you going to do when you grow up? How are you going to make enough money? How are you going to survive in this society? How are you going to get enough credentials? Right here, at this holy place of Jerusalem, at this holy moment, I want to ask you really, what are you going to be when you grow up? What's your soul going to be? What are your values going to be? What do you want to live for? What would you, God forbid, be willing to die for? And I'm not arrogant enough to get up here and tell you the answer. But I think that's the real question of March of the Living. We've seen death. We've seen destruction. We've seen horror. And now the torch is being passed to you to keep it going. To keep the Jewish conversation going, the 3,500-year-old conversation of who we are and who we can be. To keep the 150-year-old conversation about Zionism, which goes back to Abraham and Sarah, but got a big boost in the 19th century. Of what kind of state we're going to be and how that state can be meaningful to us if we live in Vancouver or Montreal or Toronto or Winnipeg or anywhere else in Canada. For our whole lives, what does it mean to have a state? What does it mean to be a part of the people, this Jewish people that won't give up, that's fueled on hope? But most important of all, when we meet these amazing people, when we hear these stories, when you dance tonight, celebrating Israel, what ideas, what values, what ideals do you take home with you? And how do you make sure that you use these experiences, this history of ours, this amazing story of ours, to become better people and to make this a better world? And that's why, again and again, we are the people of hope, Hatikva. That's why, again and again, we are the people who get knocked down but stand up again. And that's why, again and again, no matter what's going on in the world today, I say, Am Yisrael Chai, the Jewish people live. Thank you very much.